What's going on, y'all? Welcome to this month's State of the Bay. It is March, and there is a ton of stuff going on. A lot to unpack here. Should be a really good, informative episode for y'all. We're going to talk about the events that we got going on for the month, as well as what's going on with the speckled trout, the flounder, sheepshead, and then maybe even talk a little bit about some redfish. So, y'all stay tuned. And let's go ahead and get this thing going. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is the sponsor of today's episode. Without our sponsors, a lot of this stuff is not possible. But our sponsor for today is going to be Taylor CPA. So I have personally used Taylor CPA for all of my tax needs for years. They are based out of Mobile, Alabama, but they do handle businesses all the way from Texas along the Gulf Coast. So if you have a business anywhere in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida, and you're looking for somebody to do your taxes this season, be sure to check out Jason Taylor with Taylor CPA. They will be sure to take care of you this tax season. All right, so getting into what we got going on, go ahead and talk about some events that we have going on for March. So the first event is going to be the Convict Classic. I am registered right now for the Convict Classic. This is going to be an awesome tournament. It's hosted by Patrick Garmison with Ugly Fishing Charters out of Mobile, Alabama. But check it out. This tournament is sheepshead only. There's a lot of different categories. There's a sheepshead shootout, which is like the top 50 sheepshead that you catch. You got the sheepshead open, which is your top 10 sheepshead. Anyways, I'm just rambling on. If you like sheepshead fishing, be sure to check out the Convict Classic. It runs for 90 days. It opened March 1st and runs through May. So y'all check them out here on Facebook, the Convict Classic. As you see right here, I am on the board right now, so should be a really fun event. Like I said, I'm in it, and it's been a blast so far. So you got the Convict Classic. Next up is the MBKFA Minimalist Challenge. If you enjoy kayak fishing like I do, y'all should check out the Mobile Bay Kayak Fishing Association and all the stuff they got going on. One of the best clubs around, I promise you. They are awesome. But this month, they are putting on the MBKFA Minimalist Challenge. So the Minimalist Challenge is basically everybody has to launch in a few different launches, and you're getting a bag full of random lures. You get one rod and reel, and you got to go out there and catch a slam on this stuff that you've probably never even used before. You only get a handful of lures, and it is just a really good time. I've fished it ever since they've put this tournament on. It's one of the funnest tournaments of the year. So look forward to doing that. That's the third weekend in March, which I believe is like the 18th, maybe something like that. Anyways, really fun time. I look forward to it. All right, so that's the events that I have going on. There may be some other stuff going on that's just not on my radar, but these are the two events that we're highlighting here. Moving on from there, we're about to go on to talk about where to catch flounder, speckled trout, redfish, and sheepshead this month. But before we get into that, I want to show y'all our Patreon page. So we're going to talk about a lot of different areas and things where these fish are moving and kind of what's happening. But over on my Patreon page right here, I will link that up in the corner, and it'll also be down in the description if you want to check this out. But I do Google Earth breakdowns every single month, telling y'all where y'all can go to find all sorts of fish, whether it be flounder, speckled trout, redfish, sheepshead. If you're looking for fish, this is a good place to go that will put you in the right direction. So we just dropped this video this morning. That's top 5 springtime speckled trout spots. It's just videos that we put out every single month. 10 best spots to catch sheepshead, different video breakdowns. If you're watching videos, you want to know where we're fishing at, we do video breakdowns, and then so on and so forth. Just areas all around the Mobile Bay, Northwest Florida, Mississippi. There are over 100 videos over on our Patreon page. This is $20 a month. You can come in and opt out at any time, but it's just another way to help me, help support me put out content for y'all, and to kind of keep this stuff going. So there's a lot of good value over on our Patreon page. So moving into Google Earth now, we're going to talk about, first let's talk about the flounder. What are the flounder doing? So it is finally time for the flounders to start coming back in. We're starting to see more and more people catch flounder every single day. Water temperatures are around 75 degrees right now, and if you're looking to go out and target flounder, there's a couple of key areas you can go right now that are going to give you a pretty good shot at catching some. I would focus around like the jetties around Fort Gaines on Dauphin Island. These flounder that are coming in from offshore, they're going to check up around these rock jetties. These are just kind of some of the first areas that they're going to come along and pass through as they're migrating back in to our systems here. So you got the rock jetties around Fort Gaines, and then also the same thing around Fort Morgan right here. Okay, you got all the rock jetties, the ferry right here. These flounder are going to come in and they're just going to hang out around these rock jetties before they continue to make their trek into the rivers and up, into the northern part of the bay. So those are two really, really good areas. Some other good areas, if you're over around the Mississippi area, is going to be the rock jetties around Singing River Island right here, and then the mouths of all of these rivers and bayous right here is going to be pretty good. If you are over around the eastern shore, the pass around Gulf Shores is going to be a great place right here. This pass gets stacked with flounder this time of year, as well as your pass right here. So that's kind of the deal for flounder right now is, think of it as these flounder, they're offshore, right, and they have to funnel back in. They're making their migration north, right? So any kind of structure or deep water channels, stuff like that, that's the first areas that these flounder are going to come to before they continue to make that trek north. So just think of any kind of checkpoints, structures, choke points, ambush areas. Those are going to be areas where these flounder are going to hang out. So next we're going to talk about speckled trout. So speckled trout are kind of the opposite. The wintertime, all of these speckled trout stack way up in these rivers and creeks like Dog River, Fowl River, Weeks Bay, stuff like that, right? Well, the 70-degree water temperature that we're getting right now is telling these trout that it's time to move south. So they're getting ready to come out into the bays and make their migration south so they can spawn and kind of get into their spring and summertime patterns. So right now, the best places to target these trout are going to be the ambush areas outside of these rivers and creeks. So you got Fowl River right here. All this structure that's around here, your docks, what's the name? Goat Island. I forgot the name of that island right there. But you got the rock structures out here. You got crab traps outside of Dog River. You got channels right here. You got all the reefs. Just think any kind of ambush area structure that's in the bay on the way down south. Those are going to be areas that you can really find a lot of speckled trout, especially your reefs and stuff like that. Bridges, docks, all of that stuff in the middle of the bay. Check around those areas. That is where your speckled trout are going to be. Moving on to, let's talk about some sheepshead. So sheepshead are getting ready to make their migration offshore. And so in the wintertime, these sheepshead go up and kind of hang around all of our bridges and structure inside the bay. As it gets warmer, they look to go offshore. So what's going to happen is what am I doing? You're going to be able to find a lot of sheepshead around your rigs this time of year. So your rigs out in the middle of the bay are going to hold a ton of sheepshead right now. And then as we get later on into the month, going into April, you're going to be able to find more of your sheepshead on your rigs that are just offshore right here. You'll see a lot of boats stacked up around these rigs catching sheepshead. Some of the most fun you can have in the springtime is sheepshead fishing, because a lot of other stuff can be difficult to catch, and sheepshead are relatively easy. If you got some live shrimp, fiddler crabs, anything like that, you can drop them around these rigs, and chances are you're going to be able to pick up some fish on there. So a lot of good action around the rigs for sheepshead. You can still find some sheepshead right now hanging around rock jetties and stuff like that. Some of the bridges are still holding sheepshead, but for the most part, they're going to be leaving these areas and heading offshore. And then so lastly, we'll talk a little bit about the redfish. So in the wintertime, when it's cold, the redfish move really, really deep up into the marsh systems. Let's just zoom in on, let's see here. Let's do something like this. So you got these creeks, right, that move in here. Well, in the wintertime, there's a lot more oxygen in the water back here in the back of these creeks, right? These real small creeks, because the algae die. When that water temperature drops into the 50s, that algae dies off, and the water is not deprived of all that oxygen. So a lot more bait congregates in the back of these creeks, thus bringing those redfish really deep into the creeks. Well, as it gets warmer, that algae comes back up, and your water in the back of these creeks really becomes stagnant. So your bait and all that starts moving a lot more out here into the channels where there's a lot more current flow and things like that. So you're going to be finding your redfish more out into your main channels off of your main ledges right here. They're still going to be up into the creeks, but I would focus more on creek channels that funnel a lot of current. If you're in areas where you're seeing a lot of like swamp bubbles, I don't know what you call it, algae growth and things like that, low oxygen areas, you're not seeing bait, you're probably in an area that's not going to be holding fish. But yeah, in your main channels and stuff like that, that's where you're going to find your redfish at. Not only right now, but also throughout the summer. Those fish are going to be more towards your main channels. So anyways, that was this month's State of the Bay. Those are some patterns and some things y'all can be looking for. I hope this information was helpful to y'all. If it was, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, share this video around, and yeah, I will see y'all next time. Thanks.